iOS Facts was fun. Well, I'm hoping so at least. You really need to keep practicing your automation craft, checking syntax and exploring each module more and more. That's the only way to learn. This episode, we're going to get you some exposure to iOS commands module, which you will definitely use ongoing in your automation super journey. Some concepts are new, and again, you will need to practice variations to hone your skills. Due to the amount of information we've got to cover, this will likely be one of 2 or one of 3 videos on this due to Captain YouTube's time constraints. So once again, head over to github.com for the relevant files. I've posted them. It's up to you to make reference to the various paths or move files around to home Ansible, and from there plays, inventory, outputs. So quickly, again, if we're visiting the Ansible modules page, which I hope you've all bookmarked. If not, I'm going to throw it in the comments, into the video description anyway, where we're going to look at iOS commands. This module will send commands to an iOS device such as a Cisco router, Cisco switches, all running iOS. It's key to point out that this does not move you to configuration terminal mode. It's just great for commands such as show version, show IP route, show IP int, show int, things of those nature, show commands. And we see a bit of an example just there, which I've cut and pasted from the Ansible module iOS command. Please head over, take a look at that. We're going to go through it anyway. Before we do go too far though, there's a really cool tool that we haven't looked at so far, and it's called Ansible-doc, then the actual command that you want to. It's like a man page. Such a man is a manual page for people who are a bit new to Linux. So if you know the name of the module, for example, Ansible-doc iOS commands, it tells us a bit about the module, so you don't really have to go over to the website to check it out. You've actually got all this local to you on your Linux platform. For example, you go Ansible-doc iOS _facts, NX OS command, so on and so forth. Please maybe press pause, peruse this page before we come back and we actually start to have a little bit of fun. We're actually going to go ahead and just get into the process of writing our very first play. And to do that, we're going to go over to, obviously you didn't see that, we're just going to go over to our trusty Linux machine, Sublime, and we are in Ansible plays, and this is going to be first. Righto. Let's just get our desktop set up. So, quickly again to write a file. This is a YAML file. Gonna give it a sensible name. Season 5, Episode 1, iOS commands. It's going to be run against the host CPEs, if you can remember from the inventory. So there's 2 CPEs, what CPU1, CPU2. We could have done a few more, such as the switches, but we haven't for now. Gather facts. We will set to no, because that would actually run against our Linux machine, making it pointless. And then we're going to kick off with some of the actual tasks. And here we go. We are going to be doing our first task. And our first task is task 1, issue iOS commands via a list. And what I mean by that, you're about to have, we will, first of all, we will reference the iOS command module. No, it's not commands. Here is commands. You could issue a single command, or you could issue a list of commands, and we're going to issue a list. Please know my indentation so we know we're a child thereof. We are issuing two commands here. We're going to be going show version, and we're also going to do show IP int brief. You don't need to know what those particular commands are. Show IP int brief will show you all the interfaces with IP information on them, well, with IPs. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to get some great information back. We're going to store that information in CLI underscore result underscore output. Excellent. And again, that's just a temporary storage container where we can put information and then call it later. And speaking of calling it later, that is exactly what we are about to do now. So we're going to use the debug module that we've used earlier. And this is kind of a task. Task 2. Write information from CLI result outputs. Debug. And we're going to use the message. So if you're wondering, that's 1, 2. I like to indent by 2. Some people will say 3. So on and so forth. That's just the way you do it. Now here we're going to take the first element, and what do I mean by that? As we're storing everything, we're storing all of this in CLI result. This will be the first element in CLI result. This will be the second element in CLI result. Now, you're going to notice that may look a little bit funny. So we'll do it. We'll do 2. We'll call the first one as CLI result output, and this is in the standard out. We are going to call the first element, not the fifth element. Now, that will give us information about chauffeur. Let's do another one. You know what we'll do? We will copy, not cut. We will copy that. We'll say task 3. This time we're going to take the second element. So this one should say, not write some information, this should say write, it will be show IP int from CLI result. And maybe let's tidy this one up. Write show ver. And that should be pretty much ready to run. Now, what have I disconnected here? As everything is a lot harder to do. Yes, the infamous wireless problems at my house. Righto, let's save this. File, save as. We will save that in plays. We will save it as play S5. You know when you disconnect your keyboard and forget? Play S5E1 .yml. We'll just call it that. And we'll click save. You ignore that. Alrighty. Let's make our screen a bit further, a bit wider. So Ansible dash playbook inv inventory, where am I? What did I say about path? Ansible dash playbook dash I inventory inv.yaml, and the path to this play is plays. This is, well, there is only one play in this at the moment. So let's see it write something to the screen from the result of our show commands on two CPEs. We've got what's CPE1, what's CPE2. This time I do have the network connected, thankfully. Excellent. That's actually gone ahead and done the work. Now you'll be saying, so there it's gone to what CPE2, and this is show IP int. We've got a lot of information there. And here we go on what CPE2 again, the show ver. Now that's all from the standard out. Now let's go back into the configure the playbook. I want to show something. Let's leave these here. Leave them there for a second. I just want to show you what happens if we look at standard out lines. Which one is that? That's the first element. I just quickly show you both, to tell you the truth, if I can copy and paste today. So write information standard output, okay. We will just click this as show ver standard out lines example. And that's actually task 4. Task 5, show IP int standard out lines. Now, lines, and that's the first element. Lines, that is the second element. Remember, it starts at 0, so 0 is 1, 1 is 2, so on and so forth. Excellent. So let's save and go and run that again, because you're going to get a different output. It's clear. And because I saved it as the same file, let's take a look at the different output. Great, great, great. Now, here we go, standard out lines. Notice how it's sorted by line. That makes it much easier to read. And that is well defined actually in the Ansible doc for iOS command. So please go and check out the difference between standard out blob and standard out lines. Now what I have done is I have gone, and if you want to pause, take a look at the file that's up in Git right now. Please modify. Change the commands from show ver, I don't know, show IP access list, show IP BGP summary, for example. Tell me more about your favorite show command and how it looked in the different outputs. Once again, standard out, same command, standard out lines, how it looks so different. And as we're racing Mr. YouTube, that'll bring us to the end of the first vid on iOS command, where we touched on two commands, and they were a list. They were within a list. We had show ver and show IP int brief. So you've quickly learnt how to use the Ansible doc command and tool. You've learnt a very basic iOS command play and some basic structure, again adhering to YAML format. And you've understood some concept via an example of standard out and standard out lines. Next, we're going to look at iOS command again. We're going to be doing we're going to take a backup. We're going to do it two ways. We could actually do show run and save that to a file, and then we're going to look at iOS commands with loops, such as if you want to look at an interface or a range of interfaces, we specify and we just iterate through via the loop, which used to be with items. Oh, well, excellent. I think we're all in a very positive mood. My team is winning. Anyway, everyone, thank you. I'll whack this up on the interwebs, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.